Good afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on Newsfeed at noon, Marce intensifies into a typhoon. Stay tuned for the latest on this new weather system threatening northern Luzon. Inflation in the Philippines quickens in October. The spokesperson of the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission is relieved from his post for allegedly slapping a POGO worker. And Kamala Harris and Donald Trump make one last push for votes with just hours to go before Election Day. Thanks for joining us. We begin with Marce intensifying into a typhoon. The storm was last spotted 590 kilometers east of Baler, Aurora, packing winds of 120 kilometers per hour and gusts of up to 150 kph. It is moving west-northwest and is expected to make landfall over the Babuyan Islands or Cagayan either on Thursday or Friday. Weather Bureau PAOCC warns Marce could intensify prior to hitting land. The Babuyan Islands and Cagayan are under Cignal number 1 along with several other Luzon provinces. Marce is forecast to exit the Philippine area of responsibility Friday night or Saturday morning. Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission spokesperson Winston Casio has been relieved of his duties pending an investigation over a slapping incident. A video of Casio slapping a man in custody during the raid in a POGO hub in Bagak, Bataan on October 31st has gone viral. On BNC's On Point, Casio narrated what happened.
Yung isang 22-year-old naming staff, lumapit sa akin, Sir, binabastos na ako doon. Sabi ko, anong ginagawa sa'yo, Sir? Nginangaratan ako, yung dirty finger.
Aha.
Oh, so pinuntahan ko doon. Pinagalitan ko yung mga tao. Sabi ko, you don't do that. We are authority. Sabi ko, tinutulungan na nga namin kayo. Ayaw namin kayong kasuhan. Bakit yung pa kami babastusin?
Tama.
So yung tao na ng bastos, kakasuhan ko sana ng unjust vexation. Kaya lang may edad na rin. So, pinakawalan ko na lang. Binigyan ko na lang ng isang check.
In a memo issued by PAOCC Executive Director Gilbert Cruz, Casio is given a day to explain his side. In a message to BNC, Casio said he is now under administrative probe. Casio also admitted to reporters his actions were unjustifiable and that he is ready to face the consequences. It's just hours to go until what could be the closest ever race to the White House. And on this last day of campaigning, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are making one final frantic push for votes with events across a handful of states. In the must-win state of Pennsylvania, Trump vowed to invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to launch what he calls the largest deportation program of criminals in American history if he wins.
And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer.
Trump's other stops include Pittsburgh and Michigan. He will then return to Palm Beach, Florida, to vote and await the election results.
The ball's in our court. You know, as they say in athletics, the ball is in our court. All we have to do is get out and vote, and we walk away with the greatest political event in history, but much more important, it's going to be the event that saves our country. We are going to fire Kamala, and we are going to save America.
Democratic candidate Vice President Kamala Harris campaigned in the swing state of Pennsylvania as well, where she predicted victory over Trump. Harris also promising to be a president for all Americans as she rallied the Puerto Rican community, which is outraged by insults from a comedian at Trump's rally in New York last week. She got a little help from rapper Fat Joe, who is of Puerto Rican and Cuban descent.
The other day in Madison Square Garden, that was no joke, ladies and gentlemen. That was no joke. And it was filled with so much hate. Hatred of Jewish people, hatred of black people, carving watermelons, calling Puerto Rico an island of garbage. My Latinos, where is your pride?
One day left, and we need to finish this strong and get this done. So let's get out the vote. Let's reach out to all of our folks in the next 24 hours, family and friends and classmates and neighbors and co-workers. And as we do, I ask, let us please be intentional about building community.
The Electoral College swing states, the winner-take-all rule, and early voting. With just hours before the polls open, here's everything you need to know about how the next U.S. president will be elected.
Future is always worth fighting for. And that's the fight we are in right now, a fight for America's future.
Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are hurtling towards their November 5th showdown in one of the closest elections in modern American history. But how does the country decide who gets to replace President Joe Biden? Here is everything you need to know about how the results of the election will be determined.
November 5th, 2024 will be called Liberation Day in America. We're going to be liberated.
The United States does not vote directly for a presidential candidate. Instead, Americans vote for one of 538 members of the Electoral College who designate the winner on their behalf. Each state is given a certain number of electors based on population. California, the most populous state, has 54, and Wyoming, the least populous state, has just 3. Candidates need at least 270 of the 538 Electoral College votes to win. States have a winner-take-all system that awards all of the electoral votes to whoever wins the popular vote in each state, aside from 2 exceptions, Nebraska and Maine, which split their electoral votes. Under the winner-take-all system, a candidate can be chosen by the Electoral College even if they receive fewer popular votes at the national level. This is what happened in the 2016 election, when Trump won against Hillary Clinton, even though she received nearly 3 million more votes nationally.
I know many of you are deeply disappointed about the results of the election.
Since most states usually lean either Democratic or Republican, the election tends to be decided by hotly contested swing states that have a history of alternating between the two parties. This year, there are 7 such battlegrounds: Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, and North Carolina. Swing states account for 93, or nearly 1/5 of the total number of Electoral College votes. In a razor-thin election, just a handful of votes in any of those states could decide the outcome. On November 5th, when polling stations open, many voters will have already cast their ballot. Both Republicans and Democrats have been encouraged to vote early, in an aim to improve turnout and reduce crowds on the big day. In 2020, more than 100 million Americans cast their ballot in advance. Since his 2020 defeat, Donald Trump has launched an assault on the credibility of mail-in voting, claiming without evidence that the process was rigged against him. The first unofficial results could be announced as soon as polls close on the West Coast at 8 p.m. local time. Typically, American news media will declare the winner on election night, based on projections. However, in 2020, it took 4 days to call the election. Official results could take days or even longer due to the amount of mail-in ballots. Not until each state has certified its vote count will the country know for certain who will be the 47th President of the United States.
We are taking a quick break. Up ahead, an update on the SUV caught using the EDSA bus lane last Sunday. The LTO says its number 7 license plate is fake. That and more when Newsfeed at Noon returns. still watching Newsfeed at noon. A House committee resumes its inquiry into the budget of the Office of the Vice President and the Education Department under VP Sara Duterte. Zandro Chona is monitoring developments at the Batasang Pambansa and he joins us for the latest. Zandro, go ahead.
As the House Blue Ribbon continues its investigation, the travel records of the 7 Office of the Vice President officials were discussed during the hearing. Of the 7, only 1 is currently out of the country. Attorney Zuleika Lopez, the Chief of Staff of Vice President Sara Duterte, has left the country last night, a day before today's hearing. Let's listen to the Committee Secretariat, Attorney Cheryl Lagrosas.
Lahat po ba itong subject ng ating subpoena ay nasa Pilipinas pa o meron anong mga travel record nila?
Your Honor, per coordination or in coordination with Attorney Ongkad, all the 7 of whom we have requested travel records, only 1 left the country last night per information received. Attorney Zuleika T. Lopez entered the immigration gates of the airport last night at 7:31 p.m. Aboard flight PR-102, Manila to Los Angeles. But the rest are still in the Philippines. However, for Ms. Gina F. Acosta, considering that she has multiple namesakes, the Bureau of Immigration is unable to provide information as to her latest travel records, Your Honor.
Right now, committee members are mulling in citing the 7 in contempt for failing to attend the House hearings today. The current ruling is to again send a subpoena to compel these 7 officials to attend the next committee hearing with a stern warning that they could be cited in contempt should they fail to attend the hearings. Earlier, spokesperson Attorney Michael Poa Bear that he is no longer part of the Office of the Vice President, but the 7 officials are still connected with the OVPs. Mai?
All right, thank you. Zandro Chona reporting from the Batasang Pambansa. The Land Transportation Office says the number 7 license plate of an SUV caught using the exclusive bus lane along EDSA was fake. The LTO assures the public a show cause order will be issued against both the driver and registered owner of the vehicle. The SUV allegedly attempted to run over a female traffic enforcer after being stopped along the busway Sunday night. The vehicle was caught in a now viral video with a number 7 license plate, which is only assigned to senators. In another viral incident, the Korean driver who ran amok inside the Clark Freeport zone in Pampanga now faces multiple charges. The 41-year-old man allegedly ran over a security guard's motorcycle on October 31st and crashed into a gasoline pump, which caused a huge fire. On BNC's agenda, the director of Clark Development Corporation, Nicolette Henson, revealed the incident resulted in 50 million pesos in damage. The gas station's owner has already filed charges, including grave scandal, malicious mischief, and reckless imprudence resulting in damage to property. After cooling to a 4-year low in September, inflation in the Philippines quickened last month, driven by faster increases in the prices of food as well as transport costs. Sujin Kim joins us now for a closer look at the numbers. Sujin, go ahead.
That's right, Mai. Headline inflation accelerated to 2.3% in October, up 1.9% in September. This brings the average from January to October this year to 3.3%. The increase was largely driven by faster price hikes in the food sector, with food and non-alcoholic beverages surging to 2.9% inflation. Housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels registered 2.4%, with rental costs and LPG prices among the main contributors. But electricity prices decreased by 3.2%, alleviating some pressure on households in the National Capital Region. Meanwhile, prices in restaurants and accommodation services increased by 3.9%, making it a significant inflationary pressure point as demand for dining and lodging remains strong. The transport sector saw a decrease, recording a negative 2.1% inflation rate. This reflects a slower pace of decline in transport-related prices, which may offer some relief to daily commuters. Vegetables, including cabbages, chili peppers, tomatoes, and pumpkin squashes, registered negative inflation. There was also a slight decline on rice prices. The latest inflation outturn is consistent with the central bank's assessment that inflation will continue to trend closer to the low end of the target range. The Monetary Board is maintaining a measured approach in its easing cycle to ensure price stability conducive to economic growth. And those are latest updates from PSA. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you for that report, Sujin Kim. Moody's Analytics sees lower economic growth for the Philippines in the third quarter. The ratings agency projects the country's gross domestic product, or GDP, will come in at 5.7% due to restrained consumer spending. Moody's further explains private consumption is muted because recent policy rate cuts need time to filter through the economy. The country's economy expanded 6.3% in the second quarter and 6% in the third quarter of last year. The Philippine Statistics Authority will release this year's Q3 GDP data on Thursday, November 7th. The growth of the country's manufacturing sector slightly eases in October from September's 27-month high of 53.7. The S&P Global Philippines Manufacturing PMI fell to 52.9 last month. This was said to be due to supply-side challenges with material shortages resulting in longer delivery times as well as cooling buying activity. Nonetheless, the S&P Global says the latest reading is still the second highest since January 2023. Moreover, employment in the sector was strong, with the rate of job creation the strongest in over 7 years. Internet tycoon Dennis Uy is ceding control of his telecom venture as the Singapore-based Summit Telco Holdings is set to take over Dito CME Holdings. The parent firm of Dito Telecommunity says it has secured board approval to negotiate terms for Summit Telco to subscribe to up to 9 billion primary common shares of the company. With this purchase, Summit, which already holds a 25% stake in Dito, will become the controlling shareholder of the Philippines' third largest telecom operator. This investment forms part of Dito's strategy to strengthen its equity position. As of March, the company faced a negative stakeholders' equity of 44.4 billion pesos, attributed to startup costs for launching telecom services. We're taking another break. Still to come, Britain's Prince William shows off his skills in rugby during a visit to South Africa. Stay with Newsfeed at noon. You're still watching Newsfeed at noon. Iran vows to use all available means to respond to Israeli attacks on its military installations. Tehran warns the response would be clear and decisive. Iran also condemns the U.S. military presence in the Middle East.
As long as the region faces the presence of foreign troops, especially those of the United States, it will continue to suffer from problems and tension. However, this will not affect Iran's resolve and determination to defend itself. Furthermore, it should now be clearer than ever to countries in the region that they need to support each other to promote the resolution of regional issues and safeguard security and stability in the region.
Israel is at war with Iran-backed armed groups Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Houthi rebels in Yemen. From the Middle East to the Korean Peninsula, tensions remain high as North Korea launches yet another ballistic missile. South Korea says it was fired towards the sea east of the region. Just last week, Pyongyang tested a new solid-fuel intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM, that's believed to be capable of reaching the United States. Britain's Prince William shows off his skills in rugby as he begins a 4-day trip to South Africa. William played with children at a school in Cape Town in an event organized by the Atlas Foundation. That's a charity working to address child poverty and create a safe space for children to stay away from criminal activities and drugs.
Okay, it was so special meeting Prince Williams because I've only seen him on TV, on newspapers, on magazines. So it was actually special meeting him. So and my idol, of course, I cried when I saw him.
When I heard the name Prince, I was over the moon, to be honest. Like, I was so excited. Why? Because it's my first time meeting someone as important as he is, and I was so excited.
William also met with young environmentalists in Cape Town. During his South Africa trip, he will likewise attend a global wildlife summit and meet President Cyril Ramaphosa. He is making the trip alone as his wife, Kate, is still managing a return to work after finishing chemotherapy for cancer. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has been practically every spotlight since she took over the baton of the Democratic Party, and now she graces the cover of a comic book. The 22-page political power Kamala Harris Road to the White House was released in digital and print formats last month. It aims to bring Harris's story to life, capture the energy of her DNC speech, and address the questions skeptics have raised. The vice president's running mate Tim Walz also gets a comic book of his own, offering a look into his life from his tenure as a congressman to governor of Minnesota. And those are the news this hour. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Good afternoon.